and walk around in during this midday sun and get a heat stroke.
Ekang samayang bhagava varanasiyang viharati sipatane nigat.
And lie down for 3 days under terrible pains and fever.
It really happened?
Yeah.
This Bangkok series, we meet with Vivien as she has completed her 1 month self-retreat in a Thai forest monastery about 1 hour away from Bangkok. We had recorded a first meetup with her a month before she entered. It was just as she was still jet lagged from her arrival from Europe, and she was very aware that she was going to have moments that were going to be challenging. She has a very good sense of humorism as to how she brings up these awareness about being putting herself in challenges that actually are very healthy for the mind, because it brings up habitual tendencies of the mind. At the exit of this 1 month retreat, we find her again with her good sense of humorism elaborating on how simple it can be to be alone with mosquitoes and befriending them. So welcome, Vivien, to the podcast, and join me in these conversations by, if you like, subscribe to the show and share them with who you think might be interested. Thank you for being with us.
Just order.
Welcome to Dhamma on the Sidewalk, insights, interviews, and practical tips on the teachings of the Buddha for people of all walks of life, attuning, exploring, integrating the teachings in everyday life. Simple Dhamma for daily life. I'm Asoka, hosting Dhamma Capsule for people like you. Vivien, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're back.
Asoka. It's so great to see you here in Bangkok.
Same for me. So we had this appointment a month ago. We had taken this appointment a month ago.
Yes.
To meet after you exit the 1 month self-retreat at Wat Boonyawad. 1 month has passed. You are out of the retreat with a big smile. Can you start from wherever you feel it's okay to start about this retreat?
Something to give courage to people who want to do this, and maybe to have an idea what they can expect. Most of all in a
that would be
Thai
wonderful.
Forest monastery. So it's not, they have, in Thailand, they have two different kinds of monasteries.
Right.
They have the city monasteries, which are run by these monks in these orange robes, and they are a lot in a service for the Buddhist community and presence of Buddhism in the city. And there's the Thai forest tradition, which are monasteries that are quite remote in the countryside. There were big monasteries, and I've also been to 3 very small monasteries, and they are very, very close to, I think, like maybe what the Buddha wanted, to be very simple life and very straight.
I like the fact that you want to start this way, because recently I mean, this is recurrent. It's a recurrent experience. It's someone who goes to a 10 days Vipassana retreat and drops out after 5 days because of the intensity of the schedule, because of the intensity of the practice that is expected by the participant, and also the protocols and the structure of the Vipassana, the 10 days Vipassana retreat. We actually are trying to get the most out of you in just 10 days, which is actually not, it isn't supposed to be like that. So if you could actually put the record straight, in a sense that going and deciding to go on a self-retreat or on a retreat, meditation retreat, if you can if you can find the correct words to encourage people to do that, and see that the lessons that can be learned, what can be learned from ourselves as well when we go in such type of retreat, and accept that there will be dark and difficult moments because they are part of the practice. We could have them outside a monastery as well, but deciding to go for a month's retreat, and you explained that in the first conversation we had, that you had all sorts of anxieties before, and have to let that happen, and then go on the retreat, and then now find the correct words to let people be encouraged to do it. So if you can speak a bit about the schedule as well that you have.
So I know these normal retreats, the retreats where you have a busy schedule, where things are really going from one part of meditation, like walking meditation, sitting meditation, vipassana, samatha, like having Dhamma talks and periods of rest, periods of work. I know this is the most retreats that I did were like this.
Where it's structured.
Yeah, and I also did a lot of self-retreats, but in very beautiful places, in places where you have a lot of, where your senses are like filled with the beauty of the landscape or the beauty of the place, and it's this one place where I was going, which is such a soft experience to be there. But when I went to this Wat Boonyawad, which is the monastery of Ajahn Dtun, which is a very renowned and very respected meditation master and monk abbot in Thailand, it was. I'm still trying to process that. I mean, I had a lot of experiences, and I think it's going to take me I don't know how long to process what I experienced there. Also because a lot of these experiences are very subtle. Some of them are very strong and very rock hard, and some of them are really very subtle. So, I mean, I just give you some understanding of how it is to be there. This monastery is in the countryside. It's in Chonburi. It's to the east of Pattaya, but in the countryside. So it's surrounded by plantations of, like farmland. And there's this one stretch of land, which is like, I don't know how big it, but it's quite. If you walk from one end to the other, it takes you half an hour to just walk from one end to the other. So it's a lot. It's quite big and it's quite wide, and you have a front part where there are huge buildings. There's a Uposatha hall, which is very impressive, and on the other side is a little mountain with a chedi, and this chedi is also most beautiful chedi that you can imagine. All is gold, all is marble floor, beautiful, and it has got it's an inner, in the chedi itself there is a inner core which is made out of it's a corrugated, it's steel, it's stainless steel core where there are a lot of relics of arahants and Buddha relics. So, and it's built to last. They said that when it was still open. Now it's closed, and the chedi is also closed from the outside, so you cannot enter this metal core in the inside where on shelves the relics are. And these relics are, and this metal container is built to last another 2,500 years, because they say that after 2,500 years, Dhamma and the Buddha, Dhamma is going to be disappearing. It's going to last, like, because we're now, the saying, we're now in the middle, and then it's another 2,500 years, then it's over. And then it's going to be a long stretch of time, and then Maitreya is coming, the next Buddha is coming. No, in between, Apachika Buddha is coming. This is what they told me there. And in between these two ends, between the chedi and this other huge building in the entrance, there is a stretch of primary forest. This is the forest that has never been cut down.
Oh, really?
So all around it used to be forest, primary jungle, with, they said that like 60, 70 years ago they had tigers. They still have elephants and a lot of problems with elephants. But so the kutis for the monks and also for the women, so the kutis for the monks and the women are in this forest. And there is there's a wall, a brick wall between the male section and the section for the women. The section of the women is not so big, but it's inside that forest, and you have like, I think it's like 14 kutis who are built in a way that when you in one of them you can't see the others. There is enough forest between, so you really have your own little forest and you have your own little house. You got your bathroom, you have your walking path, and it's very nice. But you have no electricity, so there's no fan and there's no air condition, and it's going to be very, very hot. And if it's not so hot, it's either very hot or very hot and humid. So between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock a.m. and 3 o'clock p.m., you're going to die. Or you're going to lie down and just let things happen and just let your sweat just run down. Or like what I did, because I thought I was super smart, and walk around during this midday sun and get a heat stroke. And lie down for 3 days under terrible pains and fever.
It really happened?
Yeah, because I was stupid. And you get this kuti.
What about handheld fans?
Well, if you have one, but you don't. You have to have batteries, or either there are chargeable. There are like plug-ins. Electricity is in the kitchen. The kitchen is like 10 minutes away, 10-minute walk from where you are, and you can only access that for a certain period of time.
The day, yeah,
it's not so easy, so you just have no chance. And the daily schedule would be like, you get up, there is a wake-up call, they have like loudspeakers throughout the premise, and it has this Buddha call, Buddham Saranang Gacchami, Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
At what time?
At 3 o'clock in the morning, and at 4 o'clock you can go to the Oposata Hall, this huge building at the entrance, and you can sit there with the monks for a meditation for 1 hour. And then, which is a huge building, it has been sponsored by very wealthy people, and it's full of gold, and it's like looks like a palace. It's marble and gold and lusters of sparkling glass.
And you've done that? It's
done
compulsory?
No, you can do it or you cannot. It's very, very easy.
You can, or
You can
you
sneak
can do
in,
it. You
sneak
are,
out. You can do whatever. I did for a long time. I just did walking meditation outside, and then went in for the Then you go back to your kuti, and then 7 o'clock you go to your kitchen, and you help with preparing the food. Then at 8 o'clock there is food together, food offering for the monks, and then you have yourself food. And around like 8:30, you do the wash up together with the kitchen stuff, which can take from 1 hour to 2 hours to 3 hours. It depends on how many people are arriving and spending and offering food. And everyone who is offering food is invited to join in for early lunch.
right.
So after this, when you've done the wash up, you go back to your kuti. You're expected to go back to your kuti and never return,
And never return.
except for there is at 4 o'clock you can leave your kuti and do clean the walking the paths between the kutis, because there's always a lot of leaves falling down. And at 6:30 p.m. you can have a drink in the
What
kitchen.
kind of drink?
Well, they have hot water, and they have sometimes coffee, sometimes they have sorts of tea. But you will be alone there. There can be another person, or you'll be alone. There are a lot of mosquitoes. It's getting dark, so it's not
Alone
very,
with a lot of mosquitoes.
It's not. It's not
that's
so
a good title for the
inviting.
podcast.
So I skipped
Alone
it.
with
I
a lot
skipped
of.
it a lot because it was not no. For me, it was just no.
So you
belief.
were okay not to have meal. I mean, I know that you are seasoned, so you've done this before, but you were not. You didn't feel any discomfort from the fact that you had only one meal per day.
No. The food is very good. It's high quality food, and I was not intimidated, and I was really content with just having one food a day. It was very good. It's
Did you
good
get
for the
water
body.
to drink? Huh?
It's good for the body, and they have water. This purified water, which is not very tasty, but it's okay
To drink.
to drink. And that's all. That's all you have. You can ask for, if you just run out of toothpaste or something like this, you can ask if they can give you something, but otherwise you have to bring everything yourself. Toilet paper and all.
So that is it for the schedule. So you basically didn't speak to many people during a month.
Well, it's just like I was there with 3 other female Buddhists.
You
So-
were there with 3 others,
Yeah.
but were there other people as well? No.
In the first part, but just like there were for some time were short visits of Thai women, but they were only there for 1 or 2 days, and they didn't speak to us because they were just like they do their own stuff. And then in the end, there was a Chinese woman, and I had to contact with the Chinese woman. She would be there for another month. But
On her own.
But if I would, because in the beginning, I just wanted to go there on my own before the others joined in, and so that would have been that most of the months I spent there, I would have been completely alone in this women area in the forest alone, which is a little bit of a spooky place. Most of all, because it's a real jungle. It's a monsoon jungle, so at the moment they have this dry season. When I arrived there, they had like 2 months of no rain at all, and then at the end it started a little bit of rain. So things will start to bloom, and there are more animals, but it's like there are so many screams and the birds and the geckos, and you just don't know. The nights are so loud. There's so many things going on. And it took me just nearly a month to be cool with what's going on outside.
Yes,
Because you hear everything. You constantly think there's someone outside walking around the house.
That
is
is
not.
remarkable, because when I mean, there are stories of staying in monasteries, like I did, for instance, in the deep forest of Canada, in a Thai forest tradition monastery, and during the winter, and it's super silent. First of all, there is a lot of snow around, but then the monastic, when you mention this, sometimes there are like deers or other big animals, but they pass through. And this monastic was saying it's quite incredible when you've lived many years in a monastery in Thailand, or at least let's say in Asia, in the jungle. This and your putti is actually the nights are very, very loud.
Yeah.
Because there's so many little things and crawling and here and there. While whether you are in a monastery in California or in Canada, it's super silent at night. There hardly is any sound. And we tend to think that we get used to it, that it's the same. But no, the nights are much louder than the day because all these animals come out. And so did you have any, did you experience any discomfort from the first few nights for getting acquainted to the noises, to being alone in a kuti, in the forest, in the dark, not having, I'm not saying not having the usual comfort, but not having, or just meeting your mind face to face in those moments, meeting your mind face to face in those moments?
Well, it's I've done a lot of retreats, so that was not my problem. But I know that all this area, most of all this woman area, there hadn't been a lot of people there, because I know that Ajahn Dtun, he was very anxious with COVID. So during the COVID, he stopped anyone from coming to his monastery for a long-term retreat, and he delayed that coming from outside for quite a long period of time. So all these kutis have been empty for some time, or for years. So there was quite of a lonely and a little bit of haunting atmosphere on this haunted atmosphere at this women's section. Most of all because it's and I just learned because at the end.
Did you meet any ghosts?
No, not at all.
Or any products of your mind?
No, I haven't seen any ghosts, but there was at the beginning there was quite a little bit of an unresting feeling, most of all during the middle of the night. But I know this from other places, so what I do is I offer my merits, what I do, my practice, merits of my practice for everyone who may have any kind of comfort and good outcome out of this. And so this helps a lot.
You didn't meet any snakes?
In the end, there came the snakes.
Huh?
In the end, because when it's very dry, all the snakes, they go away. The frogs go away. And also they have monitor lizards, which can be like 2 meters long.
Yeah.
They're all gone. But when the rain comes, they all come out. Just when I was leaving, I saw the first snakes. Also, I think they also have, I don't know, a friend of mine, she saw a snake that was like yellow and black. Maybe that was a poisonous snake, but I don't know. Maybe some snakes pretend to be poisonous, but they are not. So you can see constantly new animals, new insects. It's incredible. Hear new sounds and crazy sounds. For a long time, I thought there were monkeys around, but they said it's not monkeys. It must be some kind of bird.
Some kind of birds, yeah.
And then for one night there was, because they have this problem with the elephants. There are like 30 elephants in the area, and there is only farmland. So the elephants have nowhere to go, but they feed on the farmland. So we heard a lot of shooting during the nights, which they do to scare away the elephants. But in one night, they didn't stop shooting, and there was a shooting. There was a coordinated action to drive the elephants out of the region, and because we didn't know it. There was shooting all around the monastery, and it didn't stop until 3 o'clock a.m. So one of my friends thought there was an uprising. There, there was a revolution going on. She was afraid that like armed forces would come into the monastery, but it was just for the elephants. We heard that the next day.
Interesting how the
Yeah.
mind works. Huh? Interesting.
Yeah.
And did you have a chance to have, how can I say, to talk about the practice, to have a Dhamma talk, to interact with either Ajahn Dtun or some of the monks
Yeah.
who speak English-speaking monks, or with any other human being, as a matter of fact,
Well, you have to say.
to have guidance for your
Yeah.
practice. Imagine that you have a panic attack, or there is anything. Is there, or any sort of unrested mind, I would say. Would you have any guidance? Is it possible to have guidance?
I don't think I wouldn't call it guidance. I think you have to be a seasoned practitioner to be there, to have a lot of experience and to know what can eventually come up. If you have like traumas,
For the mind. But I'm saying from being in the jungle like that.
I mean, just for like, no, not really.
Not really.
But I think this is because they are all so used to it. They just don't think about it anymore.
Yeah, true.
And there's a wall around it, so it's not like any kind of animal can come in and out. So they know a little bit what is inside the monastery, what kind of animals are inside the monasteries and whatnot. So no elephant can come inside the monastery, which was not so good for me because I love elephants so much, and I was always dreaming that one day I would see one.
All right. So, but for the practice, you keep saying you need to be a seasoned practitioner. So,
Yes.
What's a seasoned practitioner?
I think it's. I mean, if you like when you have some like trauma in your mind, and sometimes when you do a lot of meditation, trauma can come up and can become quite dramatic. Most of all, when you're very alone and there is no one maybe to talk to. It can be very difficult, and it can be really dangerous. But you really have to be beyond that. If that could be something that endangers your practice or endangers you there, you should not go there. You should be really very safe, have no psychological problems. And it's also good if you don't have any problems with your body, recent problems with your body.
Yes,
because there is help there, because when I got a little bit sick at the end, they were very, very helpful. But you cannot really reach them. You can reach them one day, during the day, once a day. When you, during the lunch, you can talk to someone, and they're very, very helpful. They would do everything for you. They would get you to the next doctor.
Who are they?
The monks.
Oh, the monks, yeah.
They would really drive you to the next doctor. They will organize everything for you. But when something happens during the night, like a friend of mine who has been there years ago, she said she had heart problems in one of these nights, and she had just a feeling like she had like something like a heart attack. She was so afraid, alone at night, because she was alone in this women's section in this forest. And she was so afraid even more because she knew that there was no one that she could reach. There was no one, and it's far off in the countryside. There's no village around. No, there's no city, nothing. So you have to be cool with this.
So this retreat was organized by an Austrian nun.
No.
No.
This I know Ajahn Dtun. He was in Germany for several times. I've seen him there, and he's also a teacher of my teacher in Germany.
Oh yeah.
And so, and then I knew people who went to his place and were very positive about staying there. And when suddenly this space of time opened in my calendar, immediately thought of going there, and I asked, and I just first I asked other people who have been there, and they said, "Oh, you won't get any. There won't be no place because it's very sought after. So there will be a lot of people there." But when I wrote them to this Wat Boonyawad, and they were very positive. They said, "Okay, no worries. You can come for 1 month, which is the maximum stay. You cannot stay longer." So, and then 3 other girls that I know, Buddhist
Decided to join
practitioners,
you.
joined me, and then and it was very good to be for the first time there, to be not alone. Because if I would have been alone, I would have been for the most of the time all alone in this women's section.
I
It's
see.
just not so easy.
So now that the month, you were pretty much looking forward to that when we met last time. You were very like running behind your shoes. You know, your shoes were in front of you. You're running behind your shoes. You were really looking forward, all excited about this retreat. And now that the retreat is behind you,
Yeah.
happy to have done it? Would you have
Yeah.
stayed longer?
No.
No.
I'm very.
Did you? I know you for having put some, not really benchmarks, but I know certainly that you were looking forward to have some peace of mind.
Yeah, didn't have it. Didn't have it. Just
You didn't have it yet,
maybe
that-
like 3 or 4 days. For the rest, it was terror.
It
Pure
was terror.
Terror. Pure terror.
Really?
Yeah, really.
You're saying that with the brightest smile.
Yes.
So you had a month of terror.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Facing your own hindrances and facing
Yeah.
your own creations.
I mean, it's,
I think I'm tickling you on that, but I think it's quite remarkable that people who want to, it's a form of courage. It's a form of courage, and I think it's Tenzin Palmo who actually says that to engage in a meditation practice, whichever it is, it can be vipassana, zazen, whatever, to engage in a practice, in a Buddhist practice, is an act of courage towards the self. And you can say, whoa, why is that so much of a big deal? Well, it is, because you're starting to witness in your own mind, observing your own mind. Let's say alone, even just investigate the mind. But then you can get used to it. So you say, hey, I know already my mind is going to go all over the place. But then you actually go on a retreat and you actually say, oh yeah, the mind is going all over the place. Because that's what the mind goes. It is an act of courage to do meditation. But then it doesn't make us more of a warrior. It keeps us being very vulnerable and open-hearted, because it just puts us in front of how we are so skilled with putting so many, to give inputs to that mind to actually go in all direction. But eventually we also learn a lot and we drop a lot of things. Don't you think so? We drop a lot. We drop. No? You still carry that along?
well, it's in my brain.
Huh?
It's in my brain. That this is what I learned is that the things that that are in my brain, it's just like
In your brain or in your mind?
both. There is the brain as a physical foundation of the mind,
Yeah.
and you have this. I mean, it's just like
You're talking about the neural connection.
the neural
the
connections,
synapses
and
everything.
it's just like
Yeah.
it was very interesting what came up. A lot of things that I would maybe think of, or before this retreat, could possibly think of what could eventually come up
Right.
as a topic,
Right, now you're talking. Yes.
did not occur at all. And this
Interesting.
maybe these are things or topics or themes or like what do you call it, things that
Mental formation.
mental formations that have always or already been like where there's a lot of work has been going on, and so it's been like, because you need to have a lot of sober. It has to be, what do you call it? To to be very sober with
Sobriety.
this sobriety, to have the sobriety to really understand and see that these things, or a topic that you think a lot and has been very important in your life, that this has no real meaning, no real inner meaning, and it's empty in itself, and it's
Exactly.
empty of an own self. So, but other topics came up, and other themes came up, and this was it's this monastery is a very strong place. It's a very special place because it's a very strict and large Thai forest tradition monastery, and it's run by one of the big abbots and big monks of Thailand. So there is a lot of Buddha power there. And when
Yeah.
there's a lot of Buddha
It's
power,
a sacred area.
you
Yeah.
have the other side as well. So it's like you have a lot of scavengers and like tigers. When you say like something like this, they would
Hungry ghosts.
not a hungry ghost. It's something like forces that would prey on
Yeah.
everything that
Yeah.
you could possibly, that you offer them, or you not don't offer them, but you cannot protect yourself.
Yeah.
So it depends. You can go there and have the best time ever, and have maybe the most quiet time. You can have the best meditation time. What I had is just like everything is blowing apart. I was not able, from the first to the last day, was not able to meditate. The only thing that I could do was walking meditation. So I was just doing like a kind of resolution to do like a pilgrimage on the walking path.
Yeah.
To do kilometers, miles on this walking
And
path.
you know that I think Ajahn Chah is one of. I heard this story from one of the Ajahn Chah's direct student,
Yeah.
who's now a senior monk. He said that Ajahn Chah was actually recommending this, that if there are things that really are, let's put it this way, things that are really bothering you,
Yeah.
you just decide to walk,
Yeah.
use walking until they're gone.
Yeah.
And there is a monk who did that, and it took him 27 hours.
Yeah.
So basically a whole day of
Yeah.
walking before that thing started to pace out from his
Yeah.
from the mind.
Yeah.
So it's good that
Yeah.
we have that possibility to walk. So you did your own pilgrimage by your kuti.
Yeah.
The thing that is interesting, but doing this in secluded environments is one thing. Doing this in, or let's say, secluded and protected environment is one thing. Another one is doing this when you basically have your kuti without fan, without AC. It's a very basic kuti in a jungle.
Hmm.
Personally, I can take a lot of things from my mind, but I would freak out from some of the insects, some of the fauna around. So, and I mean, I stayed in monasteries that were in the forest, but I mean, it was in the wild, but in the Western world, but in the wild,
Hmm.
and I had that already over there.
Hmm.
So going at 4:00 in the morning, I had a torch lamp. I was really making this torch lamp going until one day I met with the moose. And the moose is an enormous animal.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I'm actually less, between brackets, scared of a moose because I was frozen to. I just waited for the moose to pass.
Yeah.
Than a snake or a scorpio or anything like that.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that. And I know that if I decide to do a retreat like this, I have to go along and accept that that is the other side
Yeah.
that I might encounter. Did you have that as well?
Yeah, I had my freak out moment when there were not so many animals for the most part of the retreat because it was so dry.
Oh, it was dry.
But I had my freak out moment when I realized one day that there were a lot of bees
Bees.
coming around the roof of the house, of this little house. And I thought, okay, this looks as if there's a swarm and they're looking for a place. So I would just sprinkle water and throw little sticks to irritate them, to tell them, don't go there.
Oh,
it's
that
not a safe
irritates
place.
them even more.
It's not a safe place for bees. And then these 20, 30 bees, they went away. And I thought, okay, that's done. 5 minutes later, the whole swarm came. It was just such a sound of thousands of bees in the air, and they moved in the roof of this kuti. And it was just
you wanted us out. I came with all my army.
And I was just so afraid because, well, you don't know if they are aggressive or not. And it was what really was a little bit scary was that the kutis are very well protected against any kind of animals, most of all insects. They have these insects protection on all the windows and also the floor, and is from the ground. The house from the ground is sprayed with some kind of repellent, and the door is very sealed, so they can't come through the door, under the door. So, but one of the bees managed to come inside, and also at night when I
I'm coming
when
at
I have
you. You wanted
lights
us
on,
away. Huh?
when I have lights on, they would come to the window, and but in the end, I was very at peace with them because I learned that they are this specific bee swarm was very peaceful. But in the beginning, I was just oh my god.
Yeah. And any other remarkable things like that happened during the retreat? Anyone had a breakout, or nobody had a problem, basically?
The other three didn't have a problem. Also, didn't have one had a little bit of a digestion problem, but not as far as I did. What was very, very beautiful was we were able, just 3 days after we arrived, to participate in Maga Puja, which is a huge festival there.
Yeah.
So many people come to see the generosity of hundreds of people, tables loaded with food, loaded with items, loaded with cloth, loaded with flowers, and so many people being so generous. And in the evening there was a very, very beautiful long ceremony in the chedi. And then there was the day before we left, Ajahn Dtun was they were very generous towards us, and they gave us the possibility to visit 3 branch monasteries. So we were driven with the monastery bus, which is a nice air-conditioned little bus, and 2 monks. And we were going to 3 little monasteries that they are 5 to 8 monks each. And the first one was very established, for 30 years, and it's in the forest, and it's on a hill. There's a lot of farmland but the country is flat, and there are some kind of hills or little mountains, and they are left untouched, and there's still forest, and one of those is given to Ajahn Dtun, and he erected a monastery there. And this was very, very beautiful because it was very pure. There's no visitor. They go on alms round, but they live on alms round, but there are no visitors. There's no one coming. It's just these 8 monks or 7 monks there, living on this little mountain. And then we would go to another 2, and this was very, very nice to be so close to the monks. and to be, because normally in a big monastery you don't get contact to monks, except maybe
And these
one
were
a month.
Thai forest monasteries.
Yeah.
And
there
did
was
you-
always a translator. Also, when we went to
There
this
was always
monastery,
a-
a translator between English and Thai.
And did you actually meet with Ajahn Dtun?
Yes, a lot of, but nearly every day after lunch, he was there. He was so generous. You can ask every day if you want to. Ask him after lunch. And there was
He
always
speaks English.
No, he doesn't. But there's always someone who can translate. It's very, and he gives very down to earth answers. But he talks a lot and very long with Thai people, and shorter with the Western people. But I think the answers are very. It's like Dhamma pure Dhamma. It's what you expect of Dhamma. But it can also be something not very where you can really hang on to, because it's so Dhamma that it's not like he's not a normal person who's talking to another normal person having problems. He's outside of problems. So what he tells you is very helpful, but maybe not the way you maybe want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
But it's very good.
So you were satisfied of that month? And
I think it was a very tough month, because it was just like my whole practice was just like disintegrated, and felt like being thrown against a wall and breaking
had
into pieces. But
you had this expression. You take the mind and smash it on the wall and
Yeah.
get all the little pieces.
and you have those little pieces, and you can look at the little pieces. But one thing, because so many things came up, and it came in such an vehemence and such a strange, crazy way, which I've never ever experienced in any other retreat. Really, like monsters
Really?
in the mind, like attacking you. They were just also there was a. It was just so crazy. It would start. It was just several like personal character traits that came up. They were just raping you, just like these thoughts. You could not stop these thoughts. They were just like you felt like being raped, and you just have to just go through it and don't try not to react. Then all of a sudden, it stopped. Completely peace. For 2 days, then comes the next character trait.
That's how it works.
And this, in a way, and in the end, I had good memories coming up. Good memories that I cling to a lot when I don't feel very well. Like memories that give me a little bit of home feeling and satisfaction and a little bit of comfort. They came up, and more, and in the end, they turned into monsters, and they were attacking the mind, several all together, and you felt like even if they are good, it can be terrible. And also in the end, I just had like a map of my mind, and I thought it's basically very boring, and it's basically simple and not very attractive or very, it's nothing special. It's just an array of things,
Yeah, that's the mind.
and it's not very special. It's just like what I saw. It's just like, okay, that's it. Boring. It's boring. I could not make anything out of it yet. But this is what in the end I saw. It's just boring. It keeps
The
coming
mind
up,
devoid of self.
telling
Yeah.
new stories,
Yeah.
telling old stories.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's all, in the end, it's all boring.
Yeah. It's all
Not
devoid of.
interesting.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's not.
It's only interesting if the mind, the observer, sucks into these objects, and the stories evolve,
The
and
narrative.
the emotions
Yeah,
come,
yeah, yeah. It's
then it's
going to the
interesting.
blender.
If you don't do it, it's boring. It's just boring.
Actually, I think that's a good feedback to get from a retreat. I found out my mind is really
Yes,
boring.
it's boring. It's just
Yeah.
because I always thought
Yeah, I'm an
narcissistic-
interesting
I'm a
person.
narcissistic person as
Yeah,
well.
and I do all this season
And
retreat,
they
and
think, and you think
yeah.
you're special, and you
Yeah.
think, oh no, what's special here? There's nothing special.
So now this week you're taking a bit of a rest, but then you're going to Japan. Then you're going to Japan,
Mm.
and you might have an opportunity there to sit a bit. Do you think you
Maybe.
might maybe?
Maybe maybe I have a also very loving connection to Zen, and I'm very excited and very I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
Japan.
I wish we
Yeah.
could meet after your Japan trip, but
Yeah,
maybe come back to Thailand.
I will go then to. I have a flight going from Kyoto to Singapore. I will stay 10 hours in Singapore, and then going to Delhi.
Yeah. So thank you so much for for letting us know that the mind can be very boring.
Yeah, and
It's
it
quite
can be very
interesting, you know,
tough.
because it's quite interesting to have that as a feedback. I really like the realistic tone of it. You know why? Because somehow, and this connects with another podcast conversation I had with someone who did something completely different, just went to the opposite, went to Kumbh Mela. And Kumbh Mela is the opposite of a self-retreat. But somehow, if you can make it as a retreat for yourself, you learn a lot about yourself, because you're completely surrounded by noise and faith ostentatiousness. But we were chatting about not being very popular human being, because we talk about we tend to be very minimalistic. We don't tend to give a lot into consumerism. I mean, yes, we do have items, we do have homes with beds, and we're not monastic, but we are not popular, and we're kind of bland, because we don't really engage in those most consumeristic attitudes. And also we like to investigate and look at the mind a lot, and the more we look at the mind, we find out that actually there isn't much to attach to. And I really like the fact of you saying, well, actually I had a look at my mind and it's very boring.
Yeah,
But it's also very luminous. That's also what is
behind. Yeah.
there's the inner light of the mind. You know, I don't know if you heard about some Tibetan monastics explaining some of the meditation, and explaining some of the workings of meditation, and some of the workings that you can get to do with as Buddhist. And that is, one is to explain the luminosity of the mind. It says a lamp illuminates the surroundings, but the lamp illuminates itself as well. So the mind is like the lamp. A knife cannot see itself. A knife cannot cut itself. The eyes cannot see themselves, but the mind can see itself. And then in that sense, the mind is luminous. Isn't that beautiful?
It's a very, very beautiful
Yeah,
story.
and that's
Very beautiful.
Mingyo Rinpoche. And you know, when you hear this and repeatedly, and he said, yeah, the lamp illuminates the surroundings. So you can think, oh yeah, of course. The mind is so smart, you know, you can make it shine. But then it illuminates itself as well.
But I just want to add one last word. I really want to encourage people. If
Yeah.
you feel like doing this, do it. Try to to have as much equanimity as possible when things come up.
Yes.
Try not to be dramatic and see it really as some kind of theater just evolving in front of you. And I have to say, because I'm doing this practice for 20 years, like when I look back, what came up like 20 years ago, I also had things coming up. A lot of these things didn't show up at all. I think there is a possibility that the mind
To
clean up a little bit.
Yes.
Or not maybe just a little bit, but maybe more and more.
Yes.
So
And
it is a good thing.
this is very good that you mentioned this, because there is a tendency to spiritual bypassing, and the spiritual bypassing is exactly that. I can accept that there is darkness, but I can't stay too long in the darkness, and that is spiritual. That's spiritual bypassing. You have to be able to see the dark sides and to clean up the dark side.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you have to be drawn into it and suffer from it, but you have to go and have a look at the dark side.
And just one last word is when you were able to be in the dark side, because I was a lot in these, let's in brackets, dark side. When you manage to go through it, just like go through some kind of turmoil and not be so much touched and not be thrown down. Maybe you're going to be thrown down, but not to really just walk through it. It gives you some kind of strength and a lot of in another way, a lot of self esteem, maybe, to you can confront the dark sides and don't be afraid of anything that's in you.
Vivien,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Asoka. Thank you for having me.
And I think what is going to happen, we are going to take an appointment.
Yes.
It will be online this time, and we'll
Yes.
meet when you come out of Japan.
Yes. That's what we're
Can we
going
do
to
that?
do. Yes.
Because you spoke about Japan now, about the experience. Yeah, because the environment in Japan is different as well.
Yeah.
The environment. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Asoka.